Hello, I'm the pastor for congregational support for the Lutheran Church of Australia's Victoria, Tasmania District. My name's Pastor Brett Kennett. And this is the second video blog that I've ever done because like most of you, and the target audience for this video is my fellow pastors and lay leaders here in the Lutheran Church of Australia, Victoria, Tasmania District. We're learning to do lots of new things with technology. So this is my second video blog as we adapt to the challenge of COVID-19 and being confined to our homes. And with me, joining me today, is a good friend and colleague, Pastor Tim Stringer, who has a particular interest in this whole area of using technology to communicate the gospel and keep communities together. Tim, good morning.
Morning, Brett. How are you?
I am good. All the better to be talking to you, mate. Tim, you're a candidate for a Doctor of Ministry through Luther Seminary in Minnesota, United States. You've been working your tail off the last few years, and it's in a very relevant area. Tell us about your research, Tim.
Yeah, what I did was when you're doing a Doctor of Ministry in biblical preaching, you have to come up with a thesis that's contextual and that matters to you. I spent many years in the desert of South Australia and felt like I lived in the diaspora, and so wondered how the internet might be used for preaching and reaching people who are dispersed, and came up with the idea to survey the users of Lutheran media's offering of streamed worship. And so talked to Pastor Richard Fox, and they agreed to let me survey their users. So the thesis title I wound up with was Reaching the Diaspora, Streamed Worship in the Lutheran Church of Australia, Building Koinonia and Ecclesia, which has got a question mark on the end, because wanted to discover whether those resources offered by the LCA were firstly reaching the dispersed Christians around the country or the world, whether that resource is building koinonia and also so community, and ecclesia, the church. So that's been the nature of my research over the last couple of years, and I submitted my oral defence copy of my thesis on the Friday before nearly all of the world went live because of suddenly being dispersed because of this particular virus. So it's all a bit uncanny the way it's all played out, but it's been very much close to my heart as this has taken place.
That's a really extraordinary coincidence, isn't it, to have that happen just as you're submitting?
Yes, it's all been a bit surreal. Have to admit, feeling as though maybe some of my thunder had been taken, because people around the world will suddenly be experiencing what the users of streamed worship in the LCA have been experiencing, those people I've researched. But what I've realised is, and I had to add another page to my thesis, which included COVID-19 as a context, and realising that we are all suddenly thrust into being the dispersed church, because none of us are allowed to gather in our buildings. Yet we are still church, we are still the body of Christ gathering. The internet or streamed worship has become the norm rather than an alternative for us.
Tim, we've been having lots of conversations just in the last week. I called you because I knew that you were working in this area, and I guess there's three things, isn't there, that I want to lift up just for the pastors and for the leaders of our district in this video. Three things, and they're related to the three things of your doctoral thesis there. So first is being dispersed, being spread out, and suddenly, as you say, we've confined to barracks. So how do we stay connected using technology?
Yeah. And I think the risk is that the technology becomes the message. It just needs to be the medium, the tool that helps us to be connected. And suddenly we've all been learning new platforms like like Zoom, which you and I are trying out right now. For Sunday night at St John's a couple of weeks ago, I used Facebook Live, and we're all trying to find the right tool for us. This week I've still distributed DVDs. I had to go and buy a burner because I have people who aren't on the internet. And so I've been pre-recording worship services and distributing them a link to Google Drive, and I also needed to distribute some DVDs for others. So it's about finding the right method for connecting our communities depending on where they're at. And that's an additional challenge for pastors and leaders of congregations. But the tools are there. It's just how we use them to maintain connection and to spend time in community.
And one of the things I hope is being modelled through this particular video is, as rough as it is, it's slightly less rough than my video last week, but we're learning on the fly. Yeah, so there's not going to be any polished post-production on this, no edits, but I hope that's an encouragement to pastors and lay leaders who are listening, that you two can connect, and it's the connection that's important, not the slickness of the way you use the tool. Yeah, I was heartened. My encouragement to pastors and leaders in congregations is to stay connected. Pastors, your people need to hear your voice, whether that's through written communication or the telephone, as simple as that. If you haven't done anything with video or don't even plan to, don't beat yourself up about that. The telephone and your voice with a word of hope and encouragement is magnificent. And your face, if you are going to, I've been saying, now's the time to stick your smartphone on a broomstick with a piece of blue tack, and so that your face is seen by your people. And what's been amazing, what I didn't expect, and in talking with the other missions directors around Australia and other parts of the Lutheran Church of Australia, it's been magnificent. The take up and the innovativeness, and people willing to learn by trial and error in order to stay connected and to bring the gospel to their dispersed communities.
Yeah. And when you look at First Peter, the writer of First Peter was writing a letter to the dispersed church. They were using the method that they had available to them at the time to write a letter and to send it around to that list of names at the start of First Peter that we struggle to pronounce when we're reading in church. But those people were reached with a common message via letter, because that was the technology available at the time. We can distribute a common message to our people through a medium like this, having them gather together. My congregation gathered for morning tea at 11 o'clock last Sunday via Facebook Live. They put up with this ugly face, and we talked to one another on the comments, and people were really affirming of that. It was a familiar time spot, and we were sharing what we were having for morning tea together. Something as simple as that brings people together. I had another member who rang me and said, "I just needed to hear your voice," and I was shocked by that, but also affirmed that it's as simple as hearing a familiar voice. Maintains the connection, the koinonia, the community, and importantly with the church, which is not the buildings but the people that we're used to gathering with. We can gather in other ways, as long as we there's a mindset shift there, that we need to understand that this is how we gather for now, looking forward to when we can gather in person together again.
That's that second point, using something like Zoom or GoToMeeting to keep the koinonia, the community going. It's something you and I discussed too. We were reflecting on what you've just described, a virtual morning tea, or a home group Bible study that's now gone online using one of those meeting platforms, and how powerful that is in maintaining koinonia. We noticed also the difference between a live stream of a morning service and a pre-record. And it struck me that the live stream is far more, it invites and encourages participation, because it's happening live. Whereas the pre-record, it's offers far more of a temptation for you to become just an observer and that much more detached. And so if the speaker is waffling on like I'm doing now, just hit that fast wind button. If it's a pre-record, you can do that. If it's a live stream, it's a different experience. We're working this stuff out and we're observing and learning things as we go. Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing you can do if live streaming scares the daylights out of you, and that's okay if that does, pre-record, but there's if you're using Facebook Live, premiere that event and be there for comments and discussion, so that it's not just observation. There is a connection. There's a two-way relationship going on there. You can do a similar thing with YouTube. You can schedule for it to go live and be there for comments and discussion as well. I think that's a way of having a both and rather than either or in this situation.
The third and final thing in this little vBlog, which is coming to an end pretty soon, and Tim's instructed me 11 minutes is the optimum time length for a YouTube video. Contact Tim for more information about that. But the final thing we want to say is about ecclesia, about being the church, and one of the essential aspects of being God's church is being part of God's mission as church. And that's the thing that I want to close on, is some observations and reflections that have been fed back to me about. We are going online. There's been a mad scramble to learn to use the technology just to get the message out, to stay connected, and prepare content and deliver content via a new medium. But also, there's been some great comments about a new awareness that when we're sending out our content, it's not just the inner circle or the in-group or our local people that are seeing it potentially, but there are strangers and newcomers out there in the virtual world. This video, its primary audience, as I've said, is my fellow pastors and leaders of the Lutheran Church of Australia, Victoria, Tasmania District, but it's an open public video and others are going to see it. So that's a good challenge. It makes us consider the nature of what we're delivering with an eye to sharing the gospel more widely to a wider audience, doing mission in a new way. And some comments that have come to me already is that let's not go back to just how we were before, but let's receive the gift of God in this and shift our mindset to perhaps a more outward-looking posture.
Yeah, I agree. And Barna Research in the US have been researching those streaming over the last couple of weeks, and church attendance has increased dramatically in these times. We all know that during persecution, the church grows. And what previously was a total of live attenders and those who would watch a stream, the total number who are now watching streams is far outweighing those who would normally attend on both together. While giving may have dropped, engagement with the church has increased, and there is great opportunity, and the Spirit will use this opportunity to reach out to the world in troubled times.
Numerous heartening stories from pastors who have done their first YouTube thing this week, and people have made contact that they didn't expect to make contact. There's been engagement, and new opportunities. Tim, thank you. I don't know how long this has gone, but I think this will do for the second video blog. Yep. Tim, thanks for your time. You're available to dialogue with people and share more deeply. Just contact Tim through the contact details that I'll put up on our district website, which will be associated with this vBlog. God's blessings to you all. Our thoughts and prayers at District Office continue to be with you. Greetings from Bishop Lester and the District Office team here at the Victoria, Tasmania Office of the Lutheran Church of Australia. And don't forget to use the mute button if you've got a pernicious cough, especially in these days. God bless. Talk to you next time.